In this video, we will go over the variables in a scientific graph. You were just asked to identify different variables in a graph of results from Study 1. Let's break down the types of variables we can have in an experimental study. A true experiment, as opposed to a correlational study, has to have at least one independent variable and one dependent variable. The independent variable is the variable that the researcher is changing or controlling in the experiment. The dependent variable is the variable that is being measured in the experiment. The term dependent can be misleading. It implies that the researcher knows that this variable depends on another variable. However, our ability to say this is determined by our research design. For example, if we are just observing different variables, as we do in correlational research, we cannot really say that one variable depends on the other. However, if we are manipulating one variable and seeing how another variable is affected, we have evidence for causality. Our ability to manipulate the levels of the independent variable is what makes a true experiment different from other research methods. In contrast, in correlational research, variables such as age, gender, and ethnicity are not randomly assigned to participants by the researcher. Instead, participants may be selected because they have specific attributes. In this experiment on the testing effect, we have two independent variables, meaning two variables that are both being manipulated by the researcher. These variables are retention interval and learning condition. The retention interval is the time that has gone by since the participants studied the passages, whether by rereading or taking a practice test. We have three retention intervals: 5 minutes, 2 days, and 1 week. The other manipulated variable is learning condition, meaning whether participants were assigned to learn by rereading the passages or by practicing recalling information by taking a practice test. Our dependent variable is proportion of idea units recalled, meaning how well they did on the final recall test for the material studied. Since the researchers are making changes to retention interval and learning condition and seeing how these changes affect performance on the recall test, they are examining causal relationships between the independent variables, retention interval and learning condition, and the dependent variable, recall accuracy. On a graph, we usually place the independent variable on the horizontal axis and the dependent variable on the vertical axis. However, in this experiment, we have two independent variables. In this case, the researchers chose to put retention interval on the horizontal axis and represent learning condition by using color. The dark gray bar for each retention interval represents the study condition, where participants read the passages and then reread them again. The light gray bar represents the study test condition, where participants read the passages and then took a practice test.